Just since my last video, Trump continued to speak, spiraling down. Somehow it is worse than when J.D. Vance talks. Donald Trump bragged about how great San Francisco was 18 years ago, which was when Kamala Harris was the DA and Gavin Newsom was the mayor. Trump says nobody knows how many people are in the U.S., but other countries have numbers. The thing is, we have a thing in the U.S. to count too. It's called the census. Oh, wait. Donald Trump stopped the 2020 census early, so we don't have an accurate count at the moment. Trump started rambling, listing off states, seemed to forget why he was listing them partway through, and then said they are the party of common sense. Trump kept struggling to read his script. Now, I'm not talking about his teleprompters, which are here and here. He was looking down, reading a script directly below him, and he could not handle it. He was messing up the words outsource and outscore were a big one. He seemed confused what he was talking about when it came to schools. Nothing really seemed to match. He couldn't follow the script. He couldn't read it all the way through. And that kept leading to new problems because he kept inventing things to fill in the gaps. Trump said at one point, Kamala Harris and the radical left Democrat Party want to keep Black and Hispanic children trapped in family government. What the hell does that mean? Well, again, he's trying to read off his script. He keeps looking down, getting confused at the words, looking up, and then just making things up, making a sentence out of things that don't exist. It is wild to watch, and I highly recommend you do so. I highly recommend you watch his speech in Milwaukee with the American flags behind him, that particular one, because this man, this is disqualifying. It is so bad. He tries to read off his script again and says, can you imagine that? Your child leaves for school and comes home and their gender has been changed. I don't want to get into the details, but it's not even believable. I love that he has this new tell where he's old and weird, and every time he's lying, just making it up, he goes, not even believable, not even believable. He's done that so many times lately. Pay attention for it in the future. Trump has said this before, though. He really believes that you send your kids off to school and they come home afterwards with surgery to their genitals. That is what he's being told by someone, and he just believes it. Trump did finally give his plan to shut down the Department of Education. Again, it involved him trying to read off the script and then continuing blabbering on. He wants parents to run the schools, right? And he just wants to have a few people in a small room to ask them questions. Are you teaching English? Are you teaching arithmetic? Are you not teaching woke? And making sure they don't, quote, start teaching a language we don't want them to teach. So keep this in mind. Trump wants to defund the Department of Education, force children to learn from their parents, which imagine some of these Trump voters teaching their kids and being the only education they get. But not only that, they want to control what you can teach your kids. You can't even teach your kid languages unless Trump approves. You can't teach your kid, maybe you can't teach your kid about slavery. Is that too woke now? Florida removed slavery from their books. That's where we're at. People going, oh, it'll allow more choice in education. Donald Trump destroyed that. It's actually about making a cult. It's about teaching people what Donald Trump wants them to teach. Woke. What does woke mean? Well, you ask many Republicans, they don't have an answer. But that's not allowed to be taught. Opening them to teach, whatever. Whatever you want to teach your kid, they can say, no, it's too woke. You want to teach your kid about, sex ed? Maybe that's too woke now. Trump also said, I think everybody would have been in the Abraham Accords had I taken over as president. The Abraham Accords were signed while Donald Trump was president. He was president, but that was in 2020, the year Donald Trump keeps forgetting he is president. This happens all the time. It's another one of the things you notice when you listen to Trump. I listen to him, and I recommend people do too, because it's not okay. He's not well. He doesn't know he was president in 2020. And then was the question section, question and answers. They shouldn't have let this happen, and I don't know if they will anymore. A reporter asked, Do you trust the election process? Trump says, I'll let you know in about 33 days. So Trump is outright saying, unless he wins, he is going to lie about the election. He is going to call for another J6. He is going to lie to his people and try to go against the foundations of democracy that keep this country running. And a reporter asked, what is your message to voters who feel they did nothing wrong in 2020, but you tried to throw out their vote? This should be it. This is a good one. This is a really good question. What do you have to say to the people that you tried to disenfranchise, who did nothing wrong? What do you have to say? And Trump's response is, I think they agree with me. Trump is saying that if you voted for Joe Biden, he thinks you agree that your vote shouldn't count and he should be president. That's the point he's at. That is how up his own ass he is at this point. And he has advisors reinforcing this. And it gets worse, because it always will. A reporter asked, do you believe you should have been tougher on Iran after they had launched ballistic missiles in 2020 on U.S. forces, leaving more than 100 soldiers injured? Here we go. Trump has been going after Iran this whole speech. Oh, well, his writers have, at least. Do you think you should have done more? Because more than 100 soldiers were injured. Trump's response is, what does injured mean? You mean because they had a headache? No one was tougher on Iran. Donald Trump on national television insulted every troop injured while he was president. He insulted injured veterans right now. Ignore everything else that he said here. Everything else he said previously that was completely disqualifying and crazy and had no basis in reality. I want you to ignore all of that. This should be enough. And people are talking about, well, was it Iraq? He meant to say Iraq, not Iran, and whatever. Imagine any presidential candidate. Let's say when Obama was running. Imagine if Obama wasn't even president beforehand. Let's say it was his first run. And he insulted injured veterans with traumatic brain injuries that they are still dealing with today as having a headache. Hillary Clinton, what if she said that and she wasn't president? What if Joe Biden had said that? What if Kamala Harris had said that, oh, do you think that Trump should have done more in 2020? And go, well, they just had headaches. Do you think they would have a chance of winning? That's how lowered the bar is now. That's where we're at. And of course, there were more questions, more talking. And Trump at one point confused Kim Jong-un with the president of Iran. He believes Kim Jong-un is running Iran and that Kim Jong-un is trying to kill him. Now imagine you're Tim Walz. You watch all of that, right? And now you got to go on stage and deal with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance will lie just as much as Trump. No question. But he's a little better at it. You have to go on that stage and act like this is a normal election. You have to go on that stage knowing that J.D. Vance can lie and the moderators won't correct him. He can lie about as much as he wants because to him, as he said about Springfield, it's about creating stories. I do not envy Tim Walz having to deal with J.D. Vance tonight. The only person honestly, that I feel worse having to deal with JD Vance would be his wife and kids. Because JD Vance is traveling across the country, spreading racial hatred against anyone who isn't white, and when his family isn't. But that's just the type of guy JD Vance is. And he really is a perfect match for Donald Trump.